his daily artwork on the paper place settings. He loved to draw panels of otherworldly characters invading the diner, such as a mutant Donald Trump, who, after transforming into a monstrous-sized pancake, smears butter all over himself as he wreaks havoc across the city. Then there was the group of female students from the nearby Sorbonne. They met at the diner once a week for their pancake club. They would film themselves for social media, hamming it up as they drenched their pancakes with maple syrup. Not satisfied with their performance, they would do take after take. By the 10th take, I had to look away, as all of my profit margin dripped out of the now empty syrup container. Lastly, there was Savannah, my waitress from Mississippi. A blonde bombshell with a deep southern drawl, she'd startle French customers half to death with her big, booming voice. "How y'all doing today?" she'd say. "Can I get you a dessert, or are you sweet enough already?" Without fail, by the end of her shift, Savannah would have piled up beaucoup de propositions from French guys, like this one from Armand, a model actor who left a handwritten note on his business card next to a photo of himself half-shaven, as he gives his sexiest Casanova gaze. "In case you are thinking about divorcing," Armand wrote on his card, "call me. Like Ghostbusters, I'll come to the rescue." On the surface, it might look as if it were just another day at breakfast in America. Except for Armand, since when did a French dragueur, player, wait until a woman was divorced before pursuing a liaison amoureuse with her? But behind the scenes, it was a different story. I wasn't actually supposed to be working on the floor that day. For the past 13 years, I'd been trying to step back from the day-to-day operations and direct things from on high, like a regular business owner would do. But as Al Pacino famously said in The Godfather Part 3, "Just when I thought I was out, they pull me back in." Earlier that week, the waitress who opened in the morning had gotten an arrêt de travail, work stoppage, from her doctor, which allowed her to be out sick for 5 days straight, even though the document didn't indicate what she was actually suffering from. As I suspected, the waitress's illness turned out to be spring fever, because the next day she'd posted pictures of herself on Facebook having a picnic with her friends on the Canal Saint-Martin. This kind of thing always happened when the weather forecast in Paris called for a week of sunshine after a month of rain. Of course, since I was in France, I couldn't just fire her, even with her guilty-as-hell photos. Instead, I'd have to put a dossier together, which could take months, if not years, before a verdict was reached, which 90% of the time ended up favoring the employee. On top of my server woes, I was also on the verge of losing another cook. A couple days earlier, right in the middle of the lunch rush, Ficadu put his spatula down and said, "I want what Kyle has." It took me a moment to figure out what he was talking about. Kyle, a fellow cook at the diner, had just started a year's worth of paid leave after siring his second child. "Oh, do you mean paternity leave?" I asked, putting two and two together. "Yes, that." "Well, Ficadu, to get paternity leave, you have to have a child first." "But I am having a child." This was news to me. With all the gossip flying around the diner, I knew a lot about my staff's personal lives, sometimes too much. "But doesn't your girlfriend live in London?" I asked. Ficadu nodded. I chuckled slightly as I stated what I thought was the obvious. "Well, I'm pretty sure to get French paternity leave, your child has to be born in France." Just to be safe, I called my accountant. She was my first resource when it came to all questions involving France's complicated labor laws. "Looks like your cookie's more on top of the latest developments than we are," she said. After consulting the government's website, my accountant discovered that a new law had just been passed with very little fanfare. Not only did Ficadu not have to live in the same country as his baby in order to get paternity leave, he didn't have to be the biological father, either. "He can declare himself the concubine of the baby's mother," my accountant said, "and still qualify for full benefits." Apparently in France, concubines come in both male and female. All this and much more was swirling around my head when she walked in. "I'm looking for Craigie," a kindly voice said to Savannah. I turned around to see a woman in her 80s standing in the doorway. She was wearing a flowery blouse, her ashen hair cropped. I recognized the Irish glint in her eyes immediately. "Mrs. O?" "Boy, am I glad I found you," she beamed. "Me too," I said, giving Mrs. O a big American hug. At that moment, I felt so thankful my waitress had faked being sick. Otherwise, I might have missed one of my favorite teachers of all time. "Can you believe it's been 35 years?" she said. "No, I can't," I said, although after my rough week.